Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Hope you're all awesome and well, wherever you are. Good to see a few of you up and at it. Probably this daylight savings thing, isn't it? The southern states are already well into the day, aren't they? 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock here in QLD. Anyway, we're probably off the pace by the sounds of it. But anyway, good morning. Welcome. Good to see you. We've got a few of you already in the house there. We've got Aaron, morning, mate. Good to see you. Kevin's there too, all the way from Florida. Luke, hey. Chris is there. Facebook user behind the veil. Good to see you. Jeff's in the house as well. Morning, Jeff. And James. All right, good to see everyone this morning. Hopefully you're all well for a Friday. I'll do the quick intros. Say hello. Jason Witten's my name. Most of you know that already, so we won't labour too long on that. But welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. If you're brand new, let us know that you are. Say hello in the chat. Introduce yourself. Good to see you. Welcome along. If you're returning, as many of you are, welcome back. Fantastic to have you here for something we do, most weekdays. And we try to make a little bit of sense of the property investing world, folks. The property investing world. Been doing this for 20 odd years, and along the way, learnt one or two things. One thing I do know, one thing you probably already know, is that finance is absolutely vital. Essential. Finance is essential when it comes to property investing. Many of us have a what would we call it? What would we call it? A love-hate relationship with finance and lending. We love it when we get it, and we hate it when we don't. And it's not as easy as it should be. But there's a few things today I thought we might go through and talk about, because it's important to understand as property investors, how do we get the maximum lending for us as property investors? Because really, at the end of the day, folks, the asset that you want to get the most out of is you. And this is 100% accurate for the world of borrowing. What is it about you? Tell me in the chat, folks. What is it about you that needs to be looked after? What's the thing that you produce that helps you build a property portfolio? Folks, put that in the chat for me, because it's the one thing we need to maximize and maintain, look after as investors. And anyway, as you grow in life, this one thing that you go and do, create, is vital. Put it in the chat for me. What is it? So we can talk about it. It's the thing. It's the catalyst for all borrowing. All quiet on the Western Front this morning. Anyone got a thought or an idea? Well, let's dive into it. Let's jump into it and put you out of your misery. Boom, finance. Yep, finance. What helps us get finance, Luke, when it comes to the world of borrowing? Your income, all right? Your income, the income that you declare on your tax return, and or the income from, the work and income. Yep, that's it, Chris. That's it, Jeff. The work and income you create, folks. Morning, Tim. the work and income you create is the accelerator. It's the fuel that fires us along when it comes to our world of borrowing. Okay, and today I thought I'd talk about a few tips, and we're going to do 3 do's, 3 don'ts, and 3 tips when it comes to finance and the world of maximizing your ability to build your property portfolio. Because for most of us, if you have a look at a general general conversation I've had literally thousands and thousands of times, and my team and I have probably had 10,000 plus times, is how many properties do you want to invest in and own for income and wealth in the future? And usually the number is goes a little like this. I want 1 principal place of residence, 1 home. Now, there's all sorts of good reasons for having a home, tax-free, you're going to rent. So if you can put it into that property, then blah, 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 it creates equity. It usually fuels the deposits for you and your portfolio. And then what next? Investment properties. And it's usually the number is usually between 5 and 7 investment properties, folks. 5 and 7 investment properties for you and I as investors works. For most of us, what's that going to take? It's going to take some capital, but more importantly, it's going to take some income, some serviceability when it comes to this stuff. So that's kind of the idea. That's it's pretty easy to write on a bit of paper, but how easy is it to facilitate in reality, in the real world? Well, it takes some time. It can be done. I've done it thousands of times with investors. Here's some tips for today. So one of the do's, the number 1 do in the world of property investing, folks, is to do with loan to value ratios. Okay, loan to value ratios. Now, common conversation, 80% loan to value ratio. And what's the common general person maybe only ever going to buy 1 property? There's a common conversation about, you should borrow at 80% because, chuck it in the chat for me. Why do we hear often, and there's a cost of, above 80%, which a lot of people, misunderstand. What's the cost when it comes to avoid lender's mortgage insurance? All right, so LMI. Now, it's a one-time expense, lender's mortgage insurance. So let's just put it this way in very simple terms, like really simple terms, folks, when it comes to the world of property investing. Now, let's say I've got $100,000 in cash or equity or whatever it is. Now, and again, it might be accurate. Let's say it might be well worth it if you're only going to buy 1 property, folks. And it's maybe your owner occupier. You don't need to maximize your lending. It's just 1, and it makes sense to own more of the property than to buy a second one. All right. So, and this is where it all depends. It's not a hard and fast rule for every single person, but if your goal is to do this, if your goal is to do this in the shortest time possible, then these are some tips of how to get there faster. Loan to value ratio higher. Okay, there's kind of a sweet spot at the moment, and that is 88%. That's kind of a sweet spot when it doesn't cost too much lender's mortgage insurance. However, you get some leverage. But I'm just going to round this up just for today's conversation. The difference between 80 and 90%, and when it comes to lender's mortgage insurance. Now, you can capitalize the lender's mortgage insurance, right? So you can put it on top of the loan. You don't have to pay it out of your cash. So if I had $100,000 and I borrowed at 80%, then my loan would be $400, and I'd have $100,000 in. Now, if I was able to borrow at 90% rather than 80%, then technically my loan would be $450. Okay, and if I was able to, I still got $50,000 left. I could buy a second property and have two properties, right? Two properties, two instead of one. Okay. That is the conversation. That's the mathematical calculation that you've got to do with your broker and your team and go, my question is, if I increase my loan to value ratio, do I get a benefit from that? And will it help me get to my goal faster? Okay, that's the question. And often the answer is yes, it will. Often the cost of it doesn't come out of your capital anyway. It can be capitalized, and it allows you, if your borrowing ability, if you can borrow for the second one, and it's just a matter of capitalizing some lenders mortgage insurance, then that might be the way to go. All right, so that's a really important one to understand, okay, because a lot of people avoid it because it's a cost, and you can't look at it as an absolute. It's not a cost, it's an opportunity to get a second property, and it's just, sometimes you got to pay to play, folks. That's the way it works. Okay, now if you came to mentoring the other night, lending for property investors is now coming back. There's a couple of lenders who are offering 95% for property investors again. Now, again, do the mathematics, etc., right? Okay. So, what's the next one? What's a do? All right. So, and again, this is not, financial advice, but I can tell you these things help people get their goal. Okay. So the next do is using interest only loans and payments. Okay. Now, what happens with interest only? Normally, it's like, oh, pay principal and interest. It's cheaper. It's and often it's not cheaper. It's easier to get the loan. All of these things. I hear it all the time. And reality is that if you do the math, you get in there and understand what it's going to take. Interest only, often, number one, interest only will keep some more cash in your pocket. Okay, more cash in your pocket. More importantly, interest only payments on loans does not mean you can't make extra payments. Or where is the best place? Chuck it in the chat, folks. You guys know this. If you want to pay the amount, the principal amount, then the commitment to the loan is the interest. So that's the contractual commitment, interest only. But if you've got the capacity to make extra payments, morning, Alison, to make extra payments, where do you want to put them? Boom, in the offset, right? So you don't pay back the bank the money, folks, because you're in acquisition phase, okay? And again, this is kind of some tips and do's and don'ts. Interest only, if you want to make an extra payment, you put it in the offset account. And more specifically, which is awesome, already reading my mind here, you put it in your principal place of residence offset account, folks, okay? Your principal place of residence offset accounts, and this is one of the don'ts in a second, okay? Interest only, often it's 5 years interest only, then 25 years principal interest. If you need to, then extend it another 5, and then you can, after that, the rents have gone up, you can let it pay itself off if you want, or arrange your finance in whatever way you want. All right, so interest only when it comes to that stuff. Okay, and the last one is kind of like it's an absolute rule in the beginning, and then later it changes. Okay, so your lending needs to be at different banks. Okay, high LVRs, interest only, and different banks or different lenders. Yeah, different lenders. Let's not say banks because that's misleading. Because lenders, because some places you can borrow money aren't banks. Okay, different lenders, and so over your 5 to 7 properties, you might have 5 or 6 lenders, 5 or 6 institutions you borrow money from. Okay, so they're the 3 do's. For me, stick with those, understand them, understand when to apply them, and you'll get some great outcomes as you go along. 3 don'ts. 3 don'ts, folks. Do not, and let's do not have every loan with offset. Right. Why don't you have every loan with an offset? Well, you don't need it. Every loan with an offset, which is the loan, and it's already it was already there before, right? One of you guys put it in the chat. You know, the offset account should be in your principal place of residence, folks. All right, because an offset account it costs you a little bit more, and if you don't use it, that cost is not worth it. So all of your extra cash and money should be in the offset account on your principal place of residence. Why? Because that offsets a loan interest that's not tax deductible. Every other cent that you have is tax deductible. Your PPR, boom, there you go. Yep, away you go. So don't have every loan with an offset account, folks. You don't need it. One loan with an offset account is perfectly fine, and away you go. Okay. Do not cross securitize, all right? Or cross collateralize. Now, I won't go into the details of that, but then where there's a do up here, which is different lenders, then cross securitize. And here's what happens. And I won't tell the story today, but cross securitize, cross collateralize. You're already with a lender, let's say Commonwealth Bank, and they go, yeah, no problem, Jason, I can get you a loan really quick and easy. And that's true. They get you a loan quick and easy because you've already got a loan with them. All of your cash is in their bank account. It's simple, it's easy, it's straightforward, right? Compared to, and like Alex said, often, especially with the wrong brokers, it's easier for the broker too. And fair enough, the broker's got to work their butt off to get you a loan, or it can be really easy to put you with somewhere simple. And Alison's dead right. In the beginning, folks, and this goes back to the first one as well when it comes to the loan to value ratio. Everybody has kind of a my rule for this, but anyway, everyone should at least once borrow at 95%, because if you don't in the beginning, you will never at the end. You won't get a 95% loan once you've got 6 or 7 properties. It's just not going to happen, folks. Right? So do it at the start, and then as it gets harder, you select different lending options. All right. So don't cross collateralize, don't cross securitize, and yes, it is a little bit harder, Alex, for sure, but don't give up on that, folks. All right. Don't give up on that idea when it comes to these things. Okay. And this is kind of like a don't, but this is kind of like a remember. Don't let the loan term expire, right? So let's say you got a loan 10 years ago and your loan term is kind of now, 20 or 15 years ago. Don't let it get too low in the acquisition phase, all right? Always top up that loan term, okay? Don't forget to, if you lock in equity or reset your loans, get your equity going and increase your loan term. Don't forget to do that, all right, as you go along. So there's 3 do's. There's 3 do's and 3 don'ts. Remember, LVR's high, do the math, interest only versus P&I, do the math. You're better off keeping the cash in your pocket, put it in the offset account, use different lenders, and it kind of dovetails back here anyway. You don't need every loan with an offset account. That's going to cost you more money than it should. Don't cross collateralize, cross securitize, folks. And remember that the loan term Don't let it run down to zero, the loan term. You always want to have your loans available and at the longest term possible, folks. Because certainly when you get a bit older, let's say in the back end of your working career in your late 50s and 60s, I always say to people in their sort of 50s, reset your loan terms, all of your loan terms, reset them all for another 30 years, right? Because that's the agreement that you've got, and then you've got loan term out, and you don't have to worry about loan terms finishing and reaccessing equity. And then when your loan's paid off and you don't have a job anymore, you can't get your equity, then you've got to sell your property and all sorts of rubbish I've seen happen. Don't let that happen. All right, that's the drill. That's the idea. That's the thought. Anyway, there you go, folks. Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted. Thanks for joining me today, as always. Yeah, Luke. Yeah, I mean, set it out. 30 years from now, if you're 55 now, 30 years away, that's a pretty good loan term that you reset it now while you're kind of at the peak of your income and stuff like that, because you want that loan contract to be in play and you're in charge of it as much as you can be. All right, so do that sort of stuff. All right, folks, that's it. Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted. Good to see you today. Thanks for joining. See you next week around about 8:10 as we attempt to do. I'll leave that on. Anyway, there you go. Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted. Have a great weekend, folks. And cheers for now. Bye-bye.